If you want to change your life, don't ask what you can get. Ask what you can give, because the law is simple, unchanging, undeniable. Value first, compensation second. Always. Not sometimes. Not when it's convenient. Not when someone's watching. Always. This is the fundamental truth every successful person eventually discovers and every unsuccessful person continues to ignore. The world pays in direct proportion to the value you create, not the effort you complain about. You are not paid for hours. You are not paid for intentions. You are paid for outcomes. Outcomes rooted in service, in usefulness, in delivered excellence. So if you want to raise your income, raise your value. If you want more compensation, create more contribution. Because no one gets rich asking, how can I get paid? They get rich asking, how can I serve better, faster, deeper, smarter? They don't say, I need more. They say, let me be more, and the increase will follow. This is the philosophy of powerful people, of builders, of creators, of leaders, of legends. They understand this truth. You don't chase rewards. You attract them by becoming valuable beyond question. You don't negotiate for worth. You demonstrate it. You don't ask the world to give. You become a giver so rare that the world can't help but respond. But this mindset is rare because it's hard. It requires maturity. It requires vision. It requires patience. It requires the discipline to do the work before the applause. And that's where most people break. They want the check before the value, the lifestyle before the mastery, the recognition before the results. But the laws of the universe don't bend to ego. They reward contribution. So I'm going to ask you right now, and don't answer with your mouth. Answer with your calendar. Answer with your energy. Answer with your habits. Are you creating value first? Or are you still sitting in the waiting room of life, hoping someone pays you for potential? Because potential is cheap. Everyone has it. The ones who get paid, they turn that potential into actual value. Value that solves problems, inspires change, makes people's lives better. That's it. Simple, brutal, fair. And let me tell you something else. Value multiplies. It's not linear. It's exponential. One day you're grinding in silence, doing the extra work, improving the process, exceeding expectations, and no one's noticing. Then suddenly, everyone's noticing. Why? Because value compounds in the shadows until it explodes into the light. That's the game, but only for those who understand the rules. Serve first. Solve first. Give first. Create first. Lead first. Let the money come later, because it will come not to the impatient, but to the indispensable. Be the person who makes themselves essential. Be the person no one wants to work without. Be the person who walks in and raises the temperature of the room, not with ego, but with impact. And you do that by asking every single day, how can I create so much value that people feel like they're underpaying me even when I haven't been paid yet? That's the fire. That's the code. That's the identity you step into when you stop waiting to get paid and start showing up as if you're already worthy of tanks the check. Because the truth is, the marketplace doesn't reward the needy. It rewards the necessary, the ones who solve it better, faster, cleaner, more consistently. Those are the people the world writes checks to. So if you're still waiting, it's time to stop asking what you're owed and start over-delivering like you've already been paid. Because when you live like that, when value becomes your first language, compensation becomes your second nature. That's how empires are built. That's how names are remembered. That's how real wealth is earned. And when you finally lock in that philosophy value first, always something begins to shift in you. You stop walking into rooms asking, what can I get from this? You start asking, what can I bring to this that no one else can? And the moment you start thinking that way, you level up your life. because you are no longer operating as a consumer. You've become a creator. You don't sit around waiting for someone to feed you. You become the fire that feeds the room. That shift from passive to powerful, from extraction to contribution, that's when you separate from the crowd. And when you separate, you elevate. And when you elevate, you dominate. Because you're not focused on the crumbs. You're building the bakery. You're not obsessed with being seen. You're obsessed with becoming so valuable that being overlooked is no longer even possible. Let me tell you something. If people aren't noticing your value yet, you don't need more promotion. You need more precision, more focus, more consistency, more value. Because when the value is clear, the compensation shows up. Sometimes it shows up as opportunity. Sometimes it shows up as partnerships. Sometimes it shows up as money. Sometimes it shows up as doors flying open that once slammed shut in your face. But it will show up. It has to. That's how the universe works. That's how the marketplace responds. It's not emotional. It's not personal. It's principled. And the principle is this: he who creates the most value wins. Not eventually. Immediately. Because people are starving for solutions. Drowning in complexity. Desperate for clarity, confidence, trust. So what do? You become the personification of those things. You become the solution, the clarity, the trust. You stop trying to convince people. You become the evidence. You show up with so much precision and excellence that people feel undercharged, not because you lowered your price, but because you raised your performance. That's what professionals do. That's what leaders do. That's what valuable people do. They don't ask, is this worth my time? They ask, is this worthy of my excellence? And when they decide it, they don't hold back. They go all in. They over-deliver. They outserve. They outwork. They outcare. And because they give like that, they receive without guilt. Because they know, I earned this. Not because I demanded it, but because I became someone it couldn't ignore. So if you're still hoping for the raise, still hoping for the break, still hoping someone finds you, sees you, chooses you, stop hoping. Start helping. Start serving. Start solving problems no one else is willing to solve. Start refining your craft so relentlessly that people feel like hiring you is the greatest decision they've ever made. You want to stand out? Don't do what's required. Do what's rare. Exceed expectations. Respond with excellence. Anticipate needs before they're spoken. Be the kind of person people brag about working with, not because you're flashy, but because your value is felt in every detail. That's when compensation becomes a formality. That's when you stop asking to be paid and start getting pursued. That's when your work becomes undeniable, because you became undeniable. And once that happens, game over. You've escaped the average. You've left the crowd. You've elevated yourself into a category so few ever reach. In demand, irreplaceable, invaluable. And when you become invaluable, when your presence is not just appreciated but essential, everything changes. People don't ask, what's your rate? They ask, when can we start? They don't negotiate with you, they align with you. Because the value is obvious. It's in the tone of your voice. It's in the precision of your work. It's in the way you make things better, just by being involved. You don't chase clients. Clients chase you. You don't chase approval. Your execution earns respect. Because when value is your foundation, you become the asset, not the employee, not the freelancer, not the option, the asset. And assets don't beg. Assets are protected, multiplied, respected. But you can't fake this. You can't shortcut it. You can't just want it. You have to become it. You have to live in a way that says, before I ask to be rewarded, I'll prove I can be relied on. That's how value moves. And value doesn't shout. It doesn't brag. It doesn't demand attention. It commands it with consistency, with character, with craftsmanship. And let me be clear, this isn't about being perfect. It's about being principled. Because even in failure, even in your off days, people can still trust you. They can trust your effort, your response, your integrity. Because value isn't just about skill, it's about how you show up when it's hard, when no one is clapping, when the results are slow, when the doubt is high and the reward is low. That's when value is forged. That's when compensation is earned, not just in currency, but in character. Because make no mistake, people are always watching, even when you think they're not. They're watching how you treat the small jobs. They're watching how you handle disappointment. They're watching how you respond when the lights aren't on you. And what they're watching for is consistency. Because consistency is the proof of value, not intensity, not inspiration, not a one-time wow moment, but a pattern of excellence that stacks brick by brick until you've built something that pays you for decades. So don't just be good once. Be good every time. Every meeting, every message, every email, every handshake, every result. Let it drip with intentionality. Let it reflect someone who doesn't do average work under any circumstances. And when people ask how you built this kind of value, how you became so trusted, so respected, so compensated, you tell them the truth. I made a decision that no matter what, I would lead with value. Before I got the job, before I got the credit, before I got the money, I chose to show up as if I had already earned it. And then I did. This is the code. This is the edge. This is the mindset that moves you from invisible to unignorable. So the next time you feel tempted to ask, when will they notice me? When will I finally be paid what I'm worth? When will it be my time? Answer it yourself with your value. Answer with your effort. Answer with your excellence. Answer with your execution. Because when you lead with value, you stop needing to ask. You start becoming the answer. Because this is where everything converges. This is the climactic truth. You don't get paid what you want. You get paid what you are. And the world sees what you truly are through one lens. The value you consistently deliver, not the value you intend, not the potential you talk about, not the ambition you wear on your sleeve, but the impact you create over time without needing a spotlight. So let me ask you, are you the kind of person who leaves people better off every time you touch something? Every conversation, every project, every interaction, does your presence elevate the room? Because that's value. That's how you build a reputation that outlives introductions. You want to get rich? Become the person who can't be left out of the room. Not because of status, but because of significance. Be the one who brings certainty in chaos. Be the one who finds solutions before there's a problem. Be the one who doesn't need to be told because they already saw it coming. That's when you no longer ask, how do I get paid more? Because you know the truth. The more I give, the more I grow. The more I grow, the more I earn. The more I earn, the more I can give again. It's a flywheel, a beautiful, unstoppable cycle. But it only spins for those who begin by putting value first. So here's what I want you to remember, burned into your bones. Never show up with your hand out. Show up with your sleeves rolled up. Don't walk in saying, what's in it for me? Walk in saying, let me show you what's possible because I'm here. Don't calculate your worth by hours. Calculate it by outcomes. Don't beg for a raise. Raise the standard of everything you touch and watch the world raise its offer to keep up with your momentum. Because here's the final, immutable truth. Value is magnetic. Value is timeless. Value is your passport to every room you've ever wanted to enter. It doesn't need a resume. It doesn't need validation. It doesn't need explanation. It walks in first and speaks for you before your mouth opens. So, from now on, let this be your code. Lead with value before they ask, before they pay, before they see you, before they understand you. Lead with value, not for applause, but for alignment with who you've chosen to be. Lead with value, and the compensation, the opportunity, the freedom, the wealth, it will follow like a shadow you don't need to chase. Because the person who puts value first, that person is always paid last, but paid the most. Wealth isn't a mystery. It's not a trick. It's not reserved for the lucky or the chosen. Wealth is a consequence, a result, a reflection of how clearly you see the world and your place in it. Because make no mistake, wealth is earned in clarity and lost in confusion. Clarity is the seed. Confusion is the thief. Clarity turns ideas into empires. Confusion turns ambition into ashes. Clarity builds momentum. Confusion multiplies hesitation. And in the marketplace, the one with the clearest vision wins. Always. Look around. The people building real wealth, the kind that lasts beyond fads and bubbles, they are not just smarter, they are sharper. They see what others can't. They act while others wait. They understand one truth most never realize. You are paid in direct proportion to the problems you solve and the clarity with which you solve them. Let that sink in. It's not effort. It's not hours. It's not education. It's clarity. Clarity of purpose. Clarity of value. Clarity of execution. And confusion, that's the currency of poverty. It breeds indecision. It kills time. It clouds judgment. It makes people doubt what they know. And in doubt, nothing grows. You want wealth? Then sharpen the blade of your mind. Because wealth doesn't come to those who want it, it comes to those who are clear about why they must have it, how they will build it, and what they will trade for it. Wealth doesn't come to wishers, it comes to workers with a plan. So what is clarity? Clarity is when your values match your vision, and your vision is aligned with action. It's when you stop chasing everything and start building one thing with relentless focus. It's when you know who you are, what you offer, who you serve, and why it matters. Without that, you drift. You hop from job to job, strategy to strategy, idea to idea, relationship to relationship. You become a leaf in the wind, always moving, never arriving. But with clarity, you move like a bullet. You speak with purpose. You build with certainty, and people feel it. Because clarity is magnetic. It's rare. And anything rare is valuable. People pay for certainty. They invest in those who know. And the person who walks into a room with clarity commands more than attention, they command opportunity. So let me ask you, are you clear? Are you clear about what you're building? Are you clear about the value you bring? Are you clear about the life you want? Or are you borrowing someone else's dream because it looked shiny? Because wealth only shows up for people who know what they're doing, why they're doing it, and what they're willing to endure to earn it. You see, there's a reason why most people never get rich. It's not because they aren't capable. It's because they never got clear. They spent years working hard on the wrong thing. They were disciplined in the wrong direction. They were consistent with something that never moved the needle because they never paused long enough to ask the most dangerous question a human being can ask. What do I really want? Not what your parents wanted, not what school taught, not what social media sold you. What you want. That question, if asked honestly, can change your life. But it's terrifying because once you answer it, you can't hide anymore. You have to get serious. You have to stop drifting. You have to cut the noise, leave the crowd, and build something real. That's clarity. And clarity demands sacrifice. You can't have clarity and comfort. You can't have clarity and convenience. Because once you're clear, everything that doesn't align becomes dead weight. Your old habits, your old friends, your old excuses. They all start to suffocate you. Because clarity isn't just knowing where you're going, it's knowing what you must leave behind. And that's the part people don't tell you. Clarity is expensive. But confusion is bankrupting your future. Confusion costs you time, the most expensive asset you own. Confusion costs you energy, the fuel of your ambition. Confusion costs you credibility because when you're not clear, people stop trusting you. Confusion costs you your calling. So how do you escape it? You decide. You stop waiting for certainty. You stop outsourcing your direction. You stop asking everyone what to do and start asking yourself what you already know to be true. Because deep down, you know what you were made to do. You've always known. It's just been buried beneath noise, fear, guilt, distraction, and comparison. But clarity lives underneath all of that like a diamond under dirt. And it doesn't come from outside. It comes from stillness, from listening, from asking better questions, from writing it down, from staring at a blank wall until your soul finally says, enough. This is what I'm here for. And once that voice rises, don't you dare ignore it. That voice is your compass. That voice is your future wealth, whispering through the fog. That voice is clarity, and it is worth more than gold. Because once you have clarity, you become dangerous, focused, driven, unshakable, and everything around you begins to respond. People hear it in your tone. They feel it in your posture. They sense it in your energy. Because when you're clear, you don't have to convince. You embody. You attract. You execute. You move differently. And the market rewards you for it with attention, with resources, with results. This is the truth most motivational fluff ignores. You don't get paid for activity. You get paid for clarity-driven action. 100 confused hours won't outwork 10 hours of precise execution. The guy who knows exactly what problem he solves will always out-earn the one who's still figuring it out. So the question is not, am I working hard enough? The question is, am I working on the right thing, with the right strategy, at the right level of clarity? Because wealth is not hiding from you. It's waiting for you to get clear enough to claim it. Because once you get clear, really clear, you stop chasing opportunity. And opportunity starts chasing you. You stop knocking on every door. And you start building the house people want to walk into. You stop hustling for scraps. And you start creating systems that multiply value, not just moments of survival. This is when wealth starts to flow. Not all at once, not overnight, but predictably, quietly, with growing force. Because clarity breeds consistency, and consistency compounds. Let me say that again. Clarity breeds consistency, and consistency compounds. Most people fail because they can't stay consistent. But the reason they can't stay consistent is because they're not clear enough to stay committed. They chase every new idea, every new tactic, every new shiny distraction, and their energy gets divided, their focus gets diluted, their results stay small. But when you're clear, you don't need motivation. You don't need 10 strategies. You don't need constant reminders. You just need to show up and do the work you already know matters. That's how wealth is built. Not in fits of inspiration, but in relentless, clarity-driven repetition. This is where discipline steps in, and not the kind of discipline people pretend to have online. I mean, real, unsexy, unshakable discipline, the kind that shows up when the fire's gone out, when no one's watching, when results are slow. You want to know why the successful seem unstoppable? Because they made a decision once and they've been acting on it daily, ever since. They don't renegotiate their mission every Monday. They don't reconsider their purpose when it gets uncomfortable. They don't second-guess their clarity every time the world distracts them. They locked it in, and they locked in. Discipline is what turns clarity into results. Because it's not enough to know what to do. You must do it without excuses. And this is where most people lose wealth, not in the bank, not in the market, but in their minds. They lose it in the moment they break their own word. They lose it in the hour they skip the work. They lose it in the way they betray their future self for the comfort of now. Discipline is the gatekeeper of wealth. It asks every single day, do you want what you say you want, or do you want what's easy right now? That's the test. And every time you choose clarity and discipline over chaos and comfort, you earn wealth, not just in money, but in power, trust, freedom, and reputation. Because wealth, real wealth, is not just financial, it's foundational. It's built on habits. It's built on principles. It's built on self-respect and internal alignment. If you want outer abundance, you need inner order. If your schedule is chaos, if your thoughts are noise, if your energy is scattered, then don't be surprised if your bank account reflects that same confusion. Clean up your environment. Clean up your commitments. Clean up your calendar. Build systems that make clarity the default, not the exception. Because when your life becomes a reflection of clarity, you become magnetic to wealth. Opportunities trust people who are prepared. Money flows to systems, not wishful thinking. So systemize your habits. Structure your growth. Simplify your goals until they're so clear you can't help but hit them. And then execute relentlessly. Because there is no secret. There is only clarity, structure, and execution repeated until the world can't ignore your results. Now let's talk about this. Value. Because at the core of wealth is one law. You are paid in proportion to the value you bring to the world, and your clarity determines how effectively you can deliver it. Confused people dilute value. They try to be everything to everyone. They offer too much. They sell too wide. They speak too vaguely. But the world pays specialists, not generalists. The clearer you are about the problem you solve, the deeper your wealth becomes. So ask yourself, what is the one problem you solve better than anyone? What pain do you understand at a level others overlook? What skill, what solution, what story do you bring that no one else can replicate? That's your well. Dig it deep. Don't skim the surface. Don't run wide. Go deep, become the best. Because depth is where the money lives. And clarity is how you find the vein. And once you do, double down. Because value is not about more effort, it's about better focus. You can spend a lifetime working hard, or you can spend a few focused years working smart, clear, and strategic, and let that work pay you forever. This is what wealth is. Not hype, not chance, not luck. It's clarity, backed by action, refined through discipline, and multiplied through value. And yes, all of that requires patience. Wealth is never in a rush. It doesn't care about your timeline. It doesn't care how badly you want it next month. It rewards the committed, not the impatient. You plant seeds now, and you earn the harvest later. But only if you water it with clarity every single day. So here's the challenge. If you are not where you want to be, if your results don't match your effort, if your life feels busy but not fruitful, you don't need more hustle, you need more clarity. And if you want that clarity, you must create it. In silence, in stillness, with intention. And once you have it, protect it like your life depends on it, because your wealth absolutely does. Because clarity once earned becomes your edge. It becomes the way you speak, the way you move, the way you decide without hesitation, the way you say no to what doesn't fit, so you can say yes to what builds empires. Clarity saves you from detours. Clarity saves you from the opinions of people who aren't building anything. Clarity keeps your feet on the ground when your mind wants to wander into doubt. And with that edge, you stop looking for shortcuts because you become the shortcut. People start coming to you for answers. Why? Because in a world drowning in confusion, the clearest mind becomes the leader. You walk into the room and people feel your presence, not because you're louder, but because you're certain. You don't waste energy trying to impress your results. Speak with confidence. And that confidence, it wasn't inherited. It was forged in the fires of doubt you walked through, in the silence you endured, in the clarity you fought for when everything around you screamed, play small. Confidence is not personality. Confidence is clarity plus. Evidence plus alignment, clarity in your mission, evidence from your action, alignment between what you say and what you live. You want more confidence? Don't fake it. Earn it by getting clear, by showing up, by doing the thing again and again and again until even your fear gets tired of showing up. And now we must talk about one of the most overlooked yet potent accelerators of wealth, alignment. Because confusion doesn't just come from outside noise, it comes from internal conflict. When your values and your actions don't match, confusion breeds. When you say one thing but live another, confusion multiplies. When your words and your work point in different directions, wealth runs away. But when you live in alignment, when your life reflects your deepest priorities, you become unshakable. People trust you. You trust yourself. You don't flinch when adversity comes. You don't stutter when opportunity knocks, because you're not pretending. You're not wearing a mask. You're not building one image online while falling apart in private. You're whole. You're real. You're aligned. And that alignment is rare, which makes it priceless. Because the marketplace isn't just buying your product. It's buying your integrity, your consistency, your character. And the clearer your internal world is, the more powerful your external results become. Alignment means you're not saying yes out of guilt. You're not chasing trends. You're not building for approval. You're building because it aligns with your calling. And when clarity and alignment meet, wealth becomes inevitable. Let's go deeper now. Because all of this, clarity, discipline, alignment, it creates something most never talk about. Peace. Not the kind of peace that comes from escape. Not the peace of a beach or a vacation or a weekend off. The peace of knowing who you are, what you're building, and why. The peace of not having to pretend anymore. The peace of being able to look in the mirror and say, I'm on my path. I'm doing the work. I know where I'm going. That kind of peace, that's wealth. Because there are people with money and fame who can't sleep. They've got houses, but no peace. Followers, but no direction. Noise, but no clarity. Don't chase their highlight reel. Build your truth. And that truth will reward you not just with money, but with meaning. And when money and meaning walk hand in hand, that's when you've won. That's when you stop working for wealth and start living from it. Because you're no longer trying to prove anything. You're just being who you were built to be. And from that space, everything becomes easier. Not because life is easier, but because you've become stronger. Clarity changes your relationship with time. It changes your relationship with effort. It changes your relationship with success, because now success isn't a mountain you're scared to climb. It's a blueprint you're excited to build. And speaking of blueprints, let's get specific. If you want to move from confused to clear, from busy to wealthy, from scattered to scalable, here's the internal architecture you must build. Clarity of identity. Who are you? What do you stand for? What do you never compromise? Clarity of mission. What problem are you solving? Why does it matter? Who does it serve? Clarity of strategy. What's the plan? What are the non-negotiables? What are you ignoring? Clarity of action. What are you doing today? What's on your calendar? Are your actions aligned with your destination? Clarity of energy. What drains you? What fuels you? What needs to be cut? Clarity of people. Who belongs in your circle? Who pulls you forward? Who pulls you back? Clarity of measurement. What are you tracking? What defines progress? What does winning look like? Every empire has a blueprint. So does every life that builds wealth. Don't wake up and wing it. Design it. Build it. Execute it. And don't stop until your clarity becomes visible through results, impact, and legacy. Because wealth isn't just about having more. It's about becoming more. more focused, more intentional, more aligned, more powerful, more free. And freedom, that's the ultimate dividend of clarity. So rise, clear your mind, sharpen your mission, simplify your path, refuse the noise, refuse the chaos, refuse the narrative that says you're not ready. You are. You just need to get clear and stay clear long enough for the results to catch up to your vision, because that's how wealth is earned. And the moment you drift from clarity, you invite confusion to steal it. So protect it like a vault. Treat it like treasure, because it is. Clarity is wealth, and wealth is waiting for the one clear mind bold enough to claim it. And now we arrive at the summit, not the end, but the elevation. Because clarity, when protected long enough, evolves into something more powerful than strategy, more permanent than motivation, and more magnetic than charisma. It becomes identity. It stops being something you use and becomes something you are. You're no longer a person seeking clarity. You are a clear person, and that changes everything. You walk different. You talk different. You make decisions with a precision most people never touch. You don't waste time trying to be liked. You are focused on being effective. You don't panic in uncertainty because your clarity has turned into calm. You don't jump at every opportunity because you understand that alignment is wealth's gatekeeper. And now, your life, your business, your relationships, your goals, they begin to mirror the internal clarity you've forged. You look back and realize confusion never really had power over you. You were just entertaining too many voices that didn't deserve to be in the room. You were just carrying stories that weren't even yours. You were just too busy trying to be everything instead of becoming the one thing the world needed you to be. But now you've returned to the center. And from that center, you create, you build, you multiply. Because clarity doesn't just guide, it expands. It creates energy. It creates momentum. It creates inevitability. And that's the key inevitability. When you are clear, aligned, and disciplined long enough, wealth becomes inevitable. It's no longer if. It's not even when. It becomes a byproduct of who you are and how you operate. So stop thinking about wealth like a finish line. Start treating it like a shadow, one that follows you wherever clarity leads. You were not born to wander aimlessly. You were not born to dabble. You were not born to echo the voices of others. You were born to walk a clear path. You were born to own your thoughts, to command your habits, to build with meaning, to lead with vision, to create with power. You were born for wealth, not just financial, but spiritual, emotional, relational, foundational. You were born to be rich in the ways that matter and to let those riches overflow into every life you touch. That starts and ends with clarity. So here's your call. Clear the fog. Clear the fake goals. Clear the expectations that were never yours. Clear the fear that was never rooted in truth. Clear the mental clutter, the digital distractions, the unnecessary obligations. Cut them all. Then look inward. Listen to what's been buried. Dig deep and decide. Decide what you will build. Decide what you will stop tolerating. Decide who you will become and what that version of you earns, gives, creates, and leads. Then act with conviction, with courage, with a mind that no longer doubts. Because when the mind is clear, the world bends to its will. And when the world senses someone with clarity of mission, it moves out of the way. Because in the end, wealth is not magic. Wealth is not luck. Wealth is not given. Wealth is built in clarity, with clarity. For those clear enough to receive it, don't wait for clarity to arrive. Create it. Don't ask the world for direction. Lead it. Don't hope for wealth. Become the kind of person who makes it inevitable. This is your time. This is your turning point. This is your moment of mental sovereignty where you stop being pulled and start pulling everything you need toward you. With vision, with clarity, with power. So go now, build with fire, build with focus, build with absolute clarity, and watch as the world confused and noisy and lost starts to orbit around the quiet power of your unstoppable, undeniable, unshakable mind. There is a truth most people avoid their entire lives, a truth that whispers in the silence, that echoes in your disappointment, that hides behind every pattern you swear you didn't choose. What you allow is what will continue, not what you want, not what you hope for, not what you dream about when the lights are off and the music is loud and you think maybe, just maybe, something will finally change. Change doesn't come from intention. It comes from interruption. From the moment you stop tolerating what you've been silently allowing. That is where your future begins. Because life doesn't give you what you deserve. It gives you what you settle for. It gives you what you allow in your thoughts, in your habits, in your standards, in your boundaries. And the scary part? Most people are addicted to allowance. They allow chaos and call it challenge. They allow laziness and call it self-care. They allow disrespect and call it understanding. They allow distraction and call it flexibility. But deep down, they know the truth. They're afraid to draw the line. Because drawing the line means you become responsible for what happens next. No more blaming. No more wishing. Just the mirror. Just the moment. Just you. And in that moment, one question rises. How long will you keep paying the price for what you won't confront? Every missed opportunity, every broken routine, every toxic relationship you keep justifying, every low standard you disguise as being realistic. They're not accidents. They're not bad luck. They are the interest payments on what you've allowed to stay. And the moment you say no more, the moment you disrupt the cycle, burn the bridge, raise the standard, you threaten the entire ecosystem of your comfort. That's why it's so hard. Because when you raise your standard, everything you used to accept starts to fall apart. The people, the habits, the identity, the noise, it all trembles when you finally stop enabling your own mediocrity. But that trembling, that collapse, that's not destruction. That's evolution. It's the sound of alignment entering your life. And alignment is the birthplace of power. Because when your life reflects what you truly value, when your actions match your standards, you become undeniable. People feel it. Your presence speaks before your mouth opens. Your energy demands respect without saying a word. Because you're no longer playing defense against chaos, you're playing offense with clarity. And clarity is rare. Clarity is threatening. Clarity is magnetic. Because most people are drifting, lost in comparison, numb from convenience, nurtured by narratives that tell them to shrink, to wait, to just be grateful. But clarity doesn't wait. Clarity doesn't shrink. Clarity doesn't apologize for excellence. Clarity cuts. It cuts through noise. It cuts through excuses. It cuts through the ties that used to bind you to who you were. And once you taste that level of living, you can't go back. You can't pretend not to see. You can't unknow what self-respect feels like. You can't tolerate what you once did, not because you're arrogant, but because you're awake. Because you've seen what happens when you allow nonsense, you get a life full of it. So now you clean house. You clean your thoughts. No more giving power to doubt. No more narrating your life with stories of lack, fear, or helplessness. You speak the language of growth, of strength, of strategy. You clean your environment. No more cluttered rooms that reflect a cluttered mind. No more entertainment that poisons your peace. No more staying in places just because they're familiar. You clean your circle. No more energy vampires. No more people who love the old you and resent your evolution. If they don't rise with you, they don't walk with you. Because you finally get it. You are the gatekeeper. You are the filter. You are the one who decides what stays and what goes. And the moment you reclaim that power, life bends to your standard. Not right away, not without testing you, not without backlash from every old habit that wants to survive. But life will bend because energy responds to integrity, because discipline attracts dividends, because conviction reshapes consequence. And when you live like that, when you hold the line, your results change. Not just the visible ones, not just the bank account or the body or the business, but the invisible ones. Your peace becomes deeper. Your mind becomes sharper. Your spirit becomes stronger. You wake up ready. Not because it's easy, but because it's worth it. Because you're finally building a life where what you allow matches what you deserve. And when that happens, you stop chasing respect. You start commanding it. Not through force, but through alignment. Not through noise, but through proof. You become the kind of person who doesn't have to yell their worth. They just live it. And the world listens. Because the world always listens to those who live with standards. It may ignore you at first. It may mock your silence, misunderstand your shift, mislabel your absence as arrogance. But eventually, it sees. It sees that your boundaries are not walls. They are filters. They filter what no longer belongs in the life of someone who has decided to rise. And when you stop allowing chaos, it dies from starvation. When you stop feeding dysfunction, it can no longer grow in your garden. When you stop negotiating with your past, your future gets a clear signal. I'm ready now. This is what it means to elevate. It means you start saying no to things that once owned you. You say no to procrastination, not because you don't feel it, but because you know its cost. You say no to comfort, not because pain is noble, but because growth doesn't live in soft corners. You say no to gossip, noise, and pointless stimulation because you're building something far more sacred, a mind that's yours. And when you own your mind, you own your life. You are no longer hijacked by opinions. You are no longer triggered by the irrelevant. You are no longer looking to be rescued because you've rescued yourself. That's the power of self-respect. And self-respect is born the moment you stop allowing what insults your future. Because that's what this is really about, the future. Your future is watching. It's waiting to see what you'll tolerate. It's waiting to see if you'll finally hold the line. Because if you don't, nothing changes. You'll keep recycling the same months and calling it growth. You'll keep waking up tired from a life you pretend to love. You'll keep wearing the mask of productivity while secretly dying of indifference. And eventually, the cost becomes unbearable. You'll lose time. You'll lose trust. You'll lose the one thing you can never get back, the chance to live as the highest version of yourself. But you can stop it now. You can end the cycle today with one simple truth engraved into your decisions. What you allow is what will continue. So allow excellence. Allow greatness. Allow rest that restores, not laziness that rots. Allow focus. Allow boundaries. Allow clarity. Allow nothing that drains the energy you need to become the person you promised yourself you'd be. Because when you stop allowing weakness, strength becomes your native language. When you stop allowing guilt, joy has room to grow. When you stop allowing everyone else to decide who you are, you meet the version of yourself you were always meant to become. And when you meet that version, you never settle again. You never shrink again. You never doubt again, not because you're always right, but because you are finally rooted. Rooted in truth. Rooted in direction. Rooted in a standard that says, if it doesn't build me, it doesn't belong here. And that is how you win. Not once, not in spurts, but forever. Because now the cycle has been broken. The pattern has been destroyed. And in its place, discipline reigns. Conviction reigns. Clarity reigns. You no longer allow chaos, you command order. You no longer allow average, you demand alignment. You no longer allow who you were because you were too busy becoming who you were born to be. And that is unstoppable. Then let us continue deeper into the fire. into the forge, into the soul. Because what you allow is not just what continues around you. It's what continues within you. And your inner world, your thoughts, your voice, your narrative is the blueprint of your reality. If you allow doubt, it will grow roots in your mind. If you allow fear, it will program your behavior. If you allow chaos, your potential will drown in it before it ever breathes. So if you want a different life, you must start by filtering your thoughts. No more entertaining the voice that says, you're not enough. That voice is not truth. That voice is not vision. That voice is a parasite living off your permission. Starve it, replace it, rewire it. Begin feeding yourself with new language, not fake affirmations, not empty hype, but words that build, not words that bind. Speak like someone who knows their power. Move like someone who honors their mind. Because here's the truth. You can't think low and live high. You can't think lack and create abundance. You can't think weak and lead strong. Your thoughts are not decorations. They are instructions. And every time you allow negative, undisciplined thinking to run loose in your mind, you hand over the keys to the very thing you're trying to escape. But you're done with that. You are done being ruled by rogue thoughts and weak narratives. You are done letting self-pity wear the crown of your inner kingdom. From now on, your mind is a disciplined zone. No intruders, no parasites, only vision, only standards, only truth. And when your mind aligns, your decisions evolve. Because when you raise the standard in your head, you automatically raise it in your habits. You stop tolerating the same lazy morning. You stop tolerating food that numbs and doesn't fuel. You stop tolerating broken commitments to yourself because you know every broken promise is a crack in the foundation of your confidence. Discipline is not about doing more. It's about doing what matters consistently. You don't need to be busier. You need to be clearer. What am I building? What am I protecting? What am I allowing? And what must I eliminate? Ask yourself daily, because life is not about what you say you want. It's about what you protect. And if you protect your distractions more than your direction, you will always feel stuck. If you protect your comfort more than your calling, you will always feel hollow. But when you start protecting your peace, your habits, your future, everything shifts. The noise fades. The clutter dies. The path appears. And that's when you meet your true power. The power to decide what stays and what ends with you. Because some of these patterns aren't just bad habits. They are generational cycles. They are inherited stories, broken beliefs, emotional inheritances passed down like a virus. But the moment you stop allowing them, you become the antidote. The moment you say, it ends here, you rewrite the narrative, not just for yourself, but for everyone after you. That's legacy. And legacy is not created through wishful thinking. It's created through brutal alignment. Alignment with your values. Alignment with your vision. Alignment with your voice. Even when it's inconvenient. Especially when it's inconvenient. Because the world doesn't need more comfortable people. It needs more clear people. People who know what they stand for. People who walk with weight. People who don't allow average because they know what excellence feels like. And once you know, you can't go back. You can't unfeel purpose. You can't unsee vision. You can't unknow what discipline does to a human soul. You've seen the difference. You've felt the difference. So now, every time you're tempted to slip back into allowance, remember, what you allow is not just continuing it, is expanding. It is shaping your character. It is multiplying in your life. So what are you multiplying? Chaos or clarity? Mediocrity or mastery? Fear or faith? Because the answer is not in your goals. It's in your standards. The standards you keep when no one is watching. That's the real you. And if the real you is allowing weakness distraction, doubt, then the real you is choosing a future you'll one day regret. But if the real you is choosing discipline, choosing alignment, choosing to cut off every excuse at its root, then the real you is becoming something rare, something the world is waiting to witness. Then brace yourself, because now we go beneath the surface into the marrow of transformation. Because once you stop allowing what weakens you, you don't just evolve, you awaken. You awaken to a new version of life, one where your time is no longer auctioned to the highest distraction, one where your focus isn't hijacked by urgency but directed by purpose, one where your emotions serve your vision, not sabotage it. That awakening doesn't come with applause. It comes with resistance. Because the moment you change what you allow, everything that benefited from your dysfunction will resist your healing. Old habits will whisper. Old people will question. Old temptations will return, wearing new masks. They will try to bargain for your loyalty. They will try to convince you that this new path is lonely, rigid, unrealistic. But that's not your concern. You are not here to maintain comfort. You are here to build capacity. And capacity only grows when you say, I no longer allow what used to feel normal. You no longer allow late starts and empty plans. You no longer allow conversations that go nowhere, opinions that add nothing, relationships that drain more than they pour. You no longer allow a routine that doesn't respect your destiny. Because every system in your life is perfectly designed to deliver your current results. And if you want new results, you need new rules. You need to audit every part of your life and ask, does this behavior honor my future? Does this mindset match my mission? Does this relationship sharpen or soften me? You don't need to be perfect, but you do need to be precise. Because alignment is not found in perfection, it's found in permission. The permission you give yourself to refuse anything that betrays the person you're becoming. That's what maturity is. Maturity is not agates, the ability to live in alignment with the truth, even when it costs you. And it will cost you your old identity. It will cost you short-term applause. It will cost you the comfort of being liked by people who don't even respect themselves. But what it gives you, peace, conviction, freedom. The kind of freedom most people will never know because they're too busy allowing the world to set their terms. Not you. Not anymore. You've decided to own your terms. You've decided that what continues in your life from this day forward is what you consciously create, not what you casually allow. You've decided that your boundaries are not up for negotiation, that your energy is not for sale, that your future is not a democracy. You've decided to stop playing small to make average people feel comfortable. You've decided that you are the standard now, not in arrogance, but in accountability, because you've realized something powerful. Your life is not a reflection of what you intended. It is a reflection of what you tolerated. And you are done tolerating anything that insults your destiny. So now you move with precision. You speak with clarity. You walk with a quiet power that only comes from having nothing in your life that doesn't belong there. This is the new you, not by chance, but by choice. Then we continue unflinching, unwavering, unstoppable, because now you don't just see the pattern. You've broken it. And when you break the pattern, you break the curse, not just for you, but for everyone connected to you, every person watching you in silence, every sibling, friend, or child who never had a model for what it looks like to walk in power without apology, to set a boundary without guilt, to raise a standard without waiting for permission. You are now that model. You are now the evidence. Because once you stop allowing what once defined you, you give others permission to do the same. Your courage becomes contagious. Your standards become a signal. Your life becomes a message. This is what happens when you stop settling. And people feel that. They feel your alignment. They feel your energy shift. They see you saying no to the things that used to own you, and they wonder, what changed? Here's what changed. You remembered who you are. You remembered that excellence is your default, not your exception. You remembered that you were not born to blend, to bend, or to beg. You were born to build, to lead, to live a life that multiplies. And you cannot multiply from a place of chaos. You cannot lead from a life full of leaks. You cannot build with bricks made of excuses and environments that dilute your vision. You must clean house, cut ties, upgrade the system, refuse to co-sign anything that doesn't reflect the clarity of who you're becoming. That means no more late night scrolling, no more yeses that should be nos, no more dragging dead weight under the illusion of loyalty. Because real loyalty starts with you. Loyalty to your mission, loyalty to your peace, loyalty to your non-negotiables. And when you start living like that, something divine begins to happen. Your decisions compound. The no you said to comfort becomes a yes to stamina. The no you said to distraction becomes a yes to results. The no you said to a toxic relationship becomes a yes to self-respect. Every decision becomes a seed. And soon what you used to call discipline becomes identity. You don't have to try anymore. You are. You are someone who doesn't tolerate weak energy. You are someone who doesn't explain excellence. You are someone who doesn't need validation to stay the course. Because when you stop allowing chaos, the voice inside you gets louder. Not the voice of doubt, but the voice of destiny. And that voice is clear. It says, this is the level now. This is the standard now. This is the season of zero tolerance for anything misaligned. And you walk it, not with force, but with frequency. Not with hype, but with honor. Not for applause, but for alignment. Because your reward is not what people think of you. Your reward is waking up each day in a life you built. One that reflects who you really are. One that honors every scar, every sacrifice, every season you didn't quit. You want to live free? You want to be powerful? You want to become undeniable? Then stop allowing what makes you forget who you are. And start living like someone who remembers that what you allow is what will continue. And now, you allow only greatness. Then let the final fire burn. Because what's coming now is not motivation. It's a mirror. A reflection of the truth you've been too powerful to ignore and too sacred to deny. Because you've come this far not just to learn, but to transform. And transformation isn't pretty. It's not poetic. It's not polite. It's painful. It's ruthless. It's the unmaking of who you were, so you can finally become who you were always meant to be. And the final evolution? It demands you eliminate everything you allowed to survive in the shadows. Every half-truth you told yourself. Every excuse you dressed in wisdom. Every relationship you kept out of nostalgia, not alignment. Every small compromise that quietly drained your greatness. Burn them all. Because the person you are becoming, they have no room for the person you used to be. There is no dual citizenship between potential and permission. You are either all in or always behind. So now is the moment. The final cut. The moment where you no longer simply raise your standards, you enforce them. Where you no longer just set boundaries, you become the boundary. Where you no longer wait for change, you become the change. And in that moment, you rise. Different, unapologetic, unshaken. You move like someone who's done negotiating with mediocrity. You move like someone who's made peace with being misunderstood, if it means being free. You move like someone who'd rather walk alone in truth than die surrounded by comfort. Because now, you know, the greatest threat to your potential is not failure. It's tolerance. Tolerating what drains you. Tolerating what distracts you. Tolerating what keeps your greatness sedated under the weight of someone else's expectations. But not anymore. Now, your peace is protected like a fortress. Now, your time is guarded like a currency. Now, your vision is treated like royalty. Not because you're better, but because you finally believe you're worth more. And that belief, It echoes. It's in the way you speak, the way you walk into a room, the way you say no to things people spend their whole lives addicted to, the way you choose alignment over attention, discipline over distraction, impact over impression. You've become rare, and rare is not always celebrated. Rare is often isolated, but rare is required if you want to change your bloodline. Rare is required if you want to lead without breaking. Rare is required if you want to build something eternal. So don't flinch when the room gets quiet. Don't shrink when the old version of you starts screaming for attention. Don't panic when life tests the very line you just drew. That test is your initiation. That pressure is your promotion. That resistance is your reminder that the standard has been raised. And when the storm comes, and it will come, your house will not fall. Because it wasn't built on hype. It was built on honor, on truth, on daily, quiet, sacred discipline, on the refusal to allow anything beneath the level of your future. And when the world sees it, when they finally understand how far you've come, how much you've built, how deeply you've changed, they'll ask, how did you do it? And you'll smile, because the answer is simple. You stopped allowing what was never meant for you, and you never looked back.